I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, February the 15th, brought to you in part by VitaFirm, best mineral money can buy. Great genetics deserve great nutrition. Protect your genetic investment with VitaFirm Concept Aid. For more information, go to vitafirm.com. Cows high, and I'm not talking in general all cattle. And nothing drives me more crazy than somebody that calls all cattle cows. Maybe straw hats in the wintertime, but you see a lot of these pretty preppy hip ropers and stuff. They call the roping steers cows, and they call their cutting cattle cows, and it'd be like calling all people mom. That just doesn't make any sense to me. You might need to kind of get some right etiquette if you're going to talk about cattle. But I'm talking about cows, mature cows, slaughter cows, for the most part. Of course, all cows are high too, but these weigh-up cows going to slaughter are selling really well. And you would think after we come out of this big long stretch, all through that dry winter and really, or dry summer, and then really dry fall, and getting into the wintertime, and we've moved so many cows, especially in the northern plains. And I've told you guys several times, you get up in western South Dakota and eastern Montana and all up in that region there where it's been abnormally dry. Of course, the whole plains are just a complete drought right now. But up in that area where they have such a high concentration of cows, some of those weigh-up cow sales, they'd be having 3,000 or 4,000 instead of maybe 500 or 600 what they would normally have. And that didn't happen just a few weeks. It happened for months. And you would think when we come out of that, and we're getting in this time right now that and after everybody's went through and preg checked, and people are getting in the middle of calving right now, that our cow prices would be down a little bit. They just stayed strong throughout, and now they're getting stronger. Your weigh-up cows are in most places are well up into the 70s and into the 80s, with their high dressing cows, reaching towards 90 cents. Your weigh-up bulls, any bull, unless it's just a fat piece of crap, any weigh-up bull pretty much bring up in the 90s or up into the dollars, with some of those high dressing continental type bulls, bringing over $1.10 in some places. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they're bringing. And you think, why are these cow plants, the cow packers, they do participate in negotiated cash because they get the lion's share of their cows in the auctions. And they're good with that. If you live close to one, you can usually take them in there and dump them out, and they'll treat you pretty right on the rail. But their guys aren't going out in the country really that heavily trying to get loads of cows in there. They would just as soon have their buyers buy them in small lots or one at a time, because there's so much difference in cows. And you can always remember, a good kill cow buyer is the best kind of cattle buyer that there is, by far, because there's just so much difference in your cows. I mean, it's enough to make or break you. You get from a cow that's got some troubles and could tank, to a cow that can just go off the charts and make big money, and basically have a carcass that will bring as much as a good steer heifer almost. But these cows are selling really, really well. And if you looked at your daily livestock report that's published by your CME, I like to look at that as often as I can, and they had a really good write-up in there for Monday's report, and it said your slaughter cow and bull run last week, your volume in your packing houses was about 10% above recent years, last year, year before. And they made a pretty, and they pretty much deal in just facts and figures, and they do have their fingertips on a lot of data, and they're good at researching it. And I like to look at some of their stuff. They had a kind of a stick out quote in there that said, your cow herd has declined 1.5 million. Now that was on the inventory report, so a lot of us think it's more than that. But still, your cow herd has declined 1.5 million from just 3 years ago. And I'd say it's closer to 2. I don't know how to count, but I just know it's more than what they're thinking, because they haven't taken into account the decline that we've seen in just the last 4 or 5 months. But your cow herd's declined 1.5 million for sure that we know of just over the last 3 years, yet your cow and bull slaughter over the last 3 weeks is 16% higher than it was just 2 years ago in 2019. I mean, it's just getting progressively more. And so, and likely, you know, guys or heifers are bringing so much, you know, guys are selling them, and they're not keeping as many heifers back. They can't afford to. They need to make some money. So guys aren't keeping as many heifers back as they would plan to if they were in normal conditions, but who knows what normal conditions are. We do see some of these good high quality heifers going back for replacement, but for the most part they all go on feed and end up getting harvested. And so it's just going to get progressively worse or better, whichever side you're looking at, probably through this season, and then it's going to take 3 seasons or 3 years to get us back up and going again. That's kind of the way those cyclical deals work with you talking about cattle numbers. But cutter cow cutout on Monday afternoon closed at 232.35. That's on a cutter cow cutout. Your choice cuts were under 275, under 274 at 273.96. So not a big gap in there, but you think, why in the heck are these cow packing plants? And they're not nearly as concentrated in your big 4. We've got independent cow packers, we've got regional cow packers, we've got different people in the hunt there. Why do they keep getting so aggressive on the slaughter? Because they're making good money. They're making good money, and they're buying those cattle at auction for the most part. And so, you know, more power to them. Get in there. But I think, you know, if you look around the globe, especially like in Australia and some places that had, you know, 100-year droughts in the last year or so, we're just not seeing as much of that range-fed, brush-fed, you know, 2 to 3 year old kind of steer and heifer kill around the globe as what we normally see. And so we're probably not getting as much of that kind of product and that grinding product, and other places aren't getting as much of it, so we're sending it out. And you know, I would likely rather eat you know, one of our slaughter cows than I would you know, a 4 or 5 year old steer and heifer that's been running out on cactus and stuff like that from down under somewhere. And it's going to be a similar type product, but you know, there's good demand for that type of product. That's what the bulk of the world eats that eats beef. They don't get to have the high choice and prime ribeyes like you and I have the opportunity to buy if we can afford one of them. But you look at Bassett, Nebraska last week, and you know how high they can sell their feeder cattle and fancy calves. They've got the best cattle in the world right there in the sand hills of Nebraska. But they had a bred cow and bred heifer sale just last week, middle of the week there, and I was looking at some of their quotes. They had their bred heifers weighing over 1,000 pounds. People don't want those lighter weight bred heifers. You got to get some weight on them. But the bred heifers weighing over 1,000 sold from $16.25 to $2,050 per head. Now, young to middle-aged cows in Bassett, Nebraska last week sold from $13.50 to $18.50. And I think these are pretty moderate type prices. You hear of bred cows bringing more than that, especially some reputation deals selling higher than that. And then short and solid mouth, good quality bred cows from $1,100 to $1,375. But you've got packers sneaking in there and buying several of those up. A lot of those cows that got some weight to them that are bringing $1,100 and down, your packers are going to pick all those up. So you know, they're going out of production too. So but just pay attention to this cow and bull market, guys. And that's why I always tell you need to have some flexibility in your marketing and buying plans and just your plans in general to take advantage of things. You can't just always do things exactly like you did every year before and what your dad did every year before that. But you know, there's quite a bit of this cow and bull marketing going on. It's just impressive what these cows and bulls are bringing in your cow and bull weigh up sales. But just getting back to home base here from being out on the weekend in Nebraska. Loved to go up to Nebraska. Hadn't been up there for a while and hadn't been right in that Humphrey area there. I want to thank my good friend Gary Weesey for giving me a tour around there, and we got to see some nice facilities, and just could not believe the pen conditions are out of this world. There's no tag on any of those cattle in the Midwest right now. Now, a week from now could be, but I guarantee you, for the most part, those outdoor lots there in central Nebraska and all through the Platte Valley there, you could walk across them in sock feet, kind of dust your feet off on the other end, put your boots on, and go the rest of the day. No big deal. I mean, just clean, unbelievably clean, and the weather's been, for the most part, very moderate. Now, they're in a drought too. I mean, they're starting to worry about where their moisture is going to come from when they get ready to plant this corn and things like that. But you know, I've said many times, winter time's a good time to have a drought. Well, they're sure in one there, and we're definitely in one in the southern plains, and northern plains is that way too. But enjoyed my trip out there to Humphrey, Nebraska, and the Platte Valley Cattlemen's Association. I don't know, there had to have been over 600 people there. Really nice crowd, and no doubt the most savvy crowd that I would get an opportunity to talk to. Mostly all farmer feeders, some of them commercial feedlots. For the most part, I would say 90% or better of them, everybody that I talk to, is for a minimum negotiated mandate. And Nebraska cattlemen sure voted for their pro mandate too. But you know, we just see other places, and it got opposed at NCBA. But those guys that do that work themselves, and they farmer feed, and they know cattle, and they got the best cattle right in that area there. It was sure a good time to get up and get to visit with so many of them. Let's talk about your board. To start the week out on Monday, February live cattle futures up 55 cents at 142.42. April up 17 cents at 146.35. Going your back months of live cattle steady to 42 cents higher. Feeder cattle, March feeders up 65 cents to settle at 166.87. April up 80 cents at 171.50. Your back months of feeder cattle steady to as much as 82 cents higher. So good gains on the day, but you know, we saw some really impressive gains last week, earlier on in the week, and they ended up taking almost all of them back later, but just some volatility there. Look at your grains, and they were fairly calm for grains this day and time on Monday, but corn was up 4 3/4 cents, 6.55 3/4 for March, so we're going to be in the sixes, guys. Beans down 13 cents at 15.70. Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 4 1/4 cents at 8.28.5. Look at your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle sales direct basis out of your 5-area feeding region, 84,400 head. That is the biggest volume that we've seen this year. And if you look at our nationwide, it was 104,500. That is easily the biggest we've seen this year, and the largest we've had going back to last fall, quite a ways. But 84,400 negotiated trade. I wonder if the market was higher. Yes, it was. I'll be darned. What a coincidence. But we get people saying that there's no correlation there. It's unbelievable. 84,400 compared to 81,600 last week. Just 62,100 a week ago. A week ago we were having some weather problems there. Or a year ago, excuse me, we're having some weather difficulties. But look at your fat cattle sales, all higher, and coincidentally with the larger negotiated trade. That's a no-brainer. When they need cattle, they go after them. They negotiate on them harder. They're more willing to give a higher price, and they buy more of them. That is absolutely no-brainer. Live sales steers and heifers, 138 to 144. That was $2 higher. Your weighted average on live steers, 140.48. That was up 72 cents compared to the previous week. Dress sales really gained. Dress steers and heifers sold from 220 to 227. You think 227? I don't know if we had anything like that. We had about 950 head of cattle bring 227 last week. So it wasn't just a handful, it was several. But that was $2 to $3 higher. Weighted average on dress steers 224.04, and that was up $2.25 on the weighted average compared to the previous week. That's significant. Like I said a while ago, nationwide negotiated sales 104,500. That's really good compared to 98,200 last week and just 74,400 same week a year ago. Of that 104,500, 21,000 of them, or about 20% of them, were for the 2 to 4 week delivery. That's actually a little bit fewer than normal, so they're not setting us up yet. But 104,500 negotiated nationwide, 34,000 negotiated grid turned in, and 276,300 head of formulas. Box beef cutout values were mixed, so they may be finding some footing here. Choice cuts were down 56 cents at 273.96. Selects up 92 cents at 268.75. Good slaughter on Monday, estimated 121,000, so that's healthy. Let's talk about what else is going on. How about Beaver County Stockyards? They've been advertising with us for a while, been broadcasting with us for a while, been supporting each other here for a while, but they do a good job, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, there on the east end of no man's land, or the Oklahoma Panhandle. That's an extreme northern Oklahoma, guys. So if you're in the northern plains and you want to get some of those cattle there, it's not that much freight. I've said before, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not that far to anywhere there. But on today, here on Tuesday, they're going to have about 50 loads of cattle, and they'll be good ones, and they'll have a lot of value to them. But significantly, they've got 10 loads of northern quality, top quality cattle there that Jeff Slatton wanted me to tell you about. He said they're unbelievable quality for the southern plains. Be mostly all black, over 90% of them black. A lot of them will be Express Ranch genetics. Those cattle are really, really good. He said they're carrying a tick more flesh than what he normally has there in his sale, but they would be in really, really good condition to go up north, guys. But 10 loads of those, all black for the most part, northern quality cattle there, and they're going to weigh around 900 pounds there. So that's a handy weight for you guys. Call in to Beaver County Stockyards. Tell them you're interested in bidding online. Go on to dvauction.com and bid on those cattle. You get the okay to bid, get registered. Don't get on there as they're selling them and think you're going to be able to click on there and bid, because they don't know who you are. So get them in there and call them early, get registered, get okay to bid, and get on those cattle, or get a hold of a buyer there if you know one. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Margin Tracks, by Midcon, and your real-time index on DV Auction. Late in the day on Monday, sitting at 161.80. That was down 82 cents, heavily influenced by the sales we got out of Oklahoma City. But for the most part, especially in the northern plains, cattle were selling a lot higher. But pretty good day for a sale. I want to tell you that here today also, Felton Angus, my buddy Jimmy Felton there, they are having their 49th annual production sale, Springdale, Montana, 2 o'clock Central. And if you know Jim Felton or you follow him on social media, you'll know they won't have any suitcase bulls there. They're going to have rangy, athletic, working bulls, Angus working bulls, and put some length and put some weight to your calves there at Felton Angus, Starts at 2 o'clock and it's the 49th annual production sale. That's also on dvauction.com. You can get on there, view and bid that sale. Look at your big feeder cattle auctions on Monday. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards, 13,500 head, but they really hadn't had much of a sale there for the last couple of weeks to the winter, and they were kind of fair weather cattlemen in that part of the country. But feeders were mostly steady to $2 lower than the last good test. The decline was noted on the heavier weights. But stocker cattle and calves, and this is one of the first times you're going to hear stocker cattle for the season. Now, what is a stocker? A stocker is just what it is. And I remember I dated a gal in college, and she was a senior as an ag business major there and didn't know what stocker, feeder, and slaughter cattle meant. She didn't know the difference between them, so probably a good idea for her to drop out. But stockers are just what they mean. They're stock pastures with. Those are not necessarily calves. They're going to be short yearlings, and some of them will even be chronological yearlings, but they've been kind of needing something to eat. They got a kind of a calf weight yearling, but the cattle that'll really go to the grass, and everybody's buying grass cattle right now. If you haven't started buying your grass cattle for early turnout, especially in the Flint Hills, you're late because everybody else has already got theirs put together. But stockers and calves, $2 to $6 higher. Goodness. Individual quote out of Oklahoma City from National Livestock Commission, 53 head, 598 pound steers in Oklahoma City at 206. Now, I told you that the feeders were a little lower there. That tells me that your corporate feeders were pulling back a little bit. I don't know if they're worried about the board or kind of disappointed that they didn't get the gains that they saw earlier in the week, last week on the board. But Oklahoma City is heavily influenced by your corporate feeders. How about Joplin Regional Stockyards? 7,900 head. They underestimated big time. They were only estimating 6,500, so got a lot of day cattle there. Feeder steers steady to $3 higher. Feeder heifers, most all weights, $2 to $5 higher. And the stockers type steers and the calves there, $5 to $12 higher, with little 3-weight peewees as much as $20 higher, which doesn't add up to a lot of dollars, but it's worth noting there. But good sale there at Joplin, and they hadn't had much of a sale last couple of weeks due to slick conditions there. How about a good sale up there in Nebraska near where I was at over the weekend? Ted Baum, my friend Ted Baum, and I got to visit with him there at the banquet the other night and enjoyed seeing him and his wife. But Elgin Livestock Sales in Elgin, Nebraska had a really good sale on Monday. About 2,000 head of feeders there. Look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. This is the only place you'll see this report out here on Cattle Market Central or nationalbeefwire.com. Look at your best tested weights of steers. 327 head of 6-weight steers averaged 661 at 180.86. 387 head of your 7-weight steer calves averaged 750 pounds on the dot, with a weighted average price on all of them of 170.49. 165 head of 8-weight feeder steers averaged 842 with a weighted average price of 166.64. Very impressive. How about a heifer quote there? 240 head. Could be some replacements included here, no doubt. 240 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 637 pounds with a weighted average price on all those heifers of 171.40. How about an individual quote out of last month's Market of the Month? Aberdeen livestock sales, 65 head, 931 steers in Aberdeen, South Dakota, bring 163.75. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your National Beef Wire top quote for the day, come out of Martin Livestock Auction in Martin, South Dakota. It was the La Creek Valley Ranch cattle there, 170 head of them, hay fed, 700 pounds, 193 1/4. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.